You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, and over here from Drakewing Gaming. I saw you on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Soulcreek, Whispers of Carmine. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you were up, and let's go. Taki began the revolting deed with stunning expertise. Each insane cultist that came for her was struck down. They stood no chance. I focused on Loken. I had to get him to safety. That was all that mattered. I grabbed the boy and desperately lifted him up to carry him free, but a male cultist with a scythe was on me too quickly. I turned my back to the madman to shield Loken and his wild slash carved through my back and shoulders. I howled, pain blinding me. Taki heard me. She turned, her eyes wide. I heard her yell my name, but I could only focus on staying standing as I clutched Loken. The next moment, the badger spear flew past my head and slammed on the cultist's side with a sickening thud. Taki rushed over to help, and more cultists were surrounding us. Some just fled into the darkness. Others were descending into a feral fury beyond that of any informed I'd ever seen. As the screaming, shouting, spraying of blood became deafening, the informed chained up in the hut began singing. I was no stranger to violence. I'd been taught to fight, and well. However, Taki was the warrior here. I would never have survived such odds without her. She became the centerpiece of the massacre. Each and every cultist bravely and stupidly threw themselves to Taki's fury, and she dispatched each one with bloody, heartbroken proficiency. They never once favored their own life. Indeed, many seemed devoid of the ability to feel pain. Still clawing and biting at Taki, she cleaved their parts from them with bloody, disgusting proficiency. Bone shined in the night, cleaved from flesh by Taki's spear. Wet, hot blood quickly cooled in the bitter winter chill. I stumbled and swayed amidst the carnage. Blood poured down my fur from the slash on my back, and the wound deep in my gut was burning with a blind-hot intensity. I focused only on Loken, holding him tightly and shielding his eyes from the depravity that unfolded. The massacre devolved into a bloodletting as they turned on each other. Each sight was worse than the last. A cultist had thrust his arm elbow deep down the throat of another, blood fountaining out the victim's mouth as their jaw cracked off its hinges. Another cultist was driving their thumbs into the eye sockets of another. I saw them burst like grapes, and the victim writhed and wailed in helpless agony. In the turmoil, many cultists seemed to completely ignore us. They were too busy throwing themselves at Taki, clawing their own flesh from their bones, or tearing tendrils of muscle and sinew out of one another. Fingernails were split and peeled away. Teeth were shattered on stone. The noise was overpowering. Crunching, screaming, singing, and squelching. Soon the air was thick with the rusted scent of blood and gore. And beneath it all, the screeching, singing of the unformed locked in the building. Every second the slaughter was drowned by their pitch, and the old wound in my abdomen began to sting with far greater intensity than any pain I'd ever felt. One cultist decided I was an easy target with Loken clutched to my chest and charged with a pitchfork. I was forced to throw Loken back to safety and defend myself. "Run!" I screamed at the boy. I couldn't even turn to check he'd followed my instructions. The cultist was on me. I ducked a wild, desperate stab from the pitchfork and rose to meet their throat. She tried to jump back, but I grabbed her by the muzzle and, fighting the pain on my back and my abdomen, twisted. With a crack, the biped fell down dead. Wow, this is fucking intense. Before I could turn back to Loken, two more took me for an easy target and joined the fray. I sidestepped a wild swing from a mallet, grabbing the shaft of the weapon and tugging it from the cultist's hands with a howl. The other found an opening, the blunt weapon striking my ribs. I felt something crack and howled, kicking the man down and turning the mallet on his face. His features exploded in a disgusting spray of shining blood, flesh, and teeth. "Loken?" I screamed, clutching my side. I was hurt badly, but only his safety mattered. "Loken!" He was gone. No! Where was he?" I screamed his name again, but it was lost over the insanity. I couldn't see Taki. I couldn't see Zhana. Only bloodied bodies and howling cultists. Beneath our feet, the crimson petals of Carmine laughed and flexed their red tendrils while blood soaked them. I dodged, weaved, and staggered around the scene. The informed in their hut were howling into the night like wild wolves now, and I tried blocking my ears to no effect. Oh, excuse me. My fur was coated red, and I no longer knew how much belonged to me. "Loken?" I howled again. I searched the bodies, each more mutilated and disfigured than the last, but there was no sign of the husky. The old wound in my stomach now stung just as it did the day I received it, as though the negative one was still there, twisting and turning its talons inside me. I squeezed my side while tripping and stumbling. Slipping on a pool of blood left by the corpse of a cultist split open like a red fruit, I finally saw Loken. He was running, just like I'd said, but in the worst possible direction. I forgot every ounce of pain and broke into a sprint, screaming his name. He couldn't hear me. He just kept fleeing the scene, out of the village, away from the slaughter, and straight into the black zone. Loken? Loken, come to me! Loken! My cries shattered the odd silence. Thick, strangling branches blocked my path as I cut a desperate path through the forest. I was in the black zone now. The sound of the bloody massacre back at the village was dulled, as though heard from ears submerged in thick, vile, salt water. Now, I was at the mercy of the cutting wind and paralyzing silence, searching desperately for Loken under the oppressive, crushing atmosphere. There was a darkness here far beyond what night could normally conjure. The black zones were rapturous tonight, stirred by the delicious slaughter they'd permitted on their very doorstep. The bitter, smothering quiet was far, far deadlier than the village. Neither Loken nor I would survive here long. My fur was sticky and warm with blood. It was so damn cold, and my feet dragged through a thick layer of snow. My wounds were burning. I could only limp, one arm clutched to my belly, and squint through the black. Second, y'all. Water time. Alright, y'all, and we are back, and let's jump back into it. Okay. Alright. My voice was hoarse from screaming Loken's name, but he'd vanished. I couldn't stand it. My whole being writhed in dread and urgency. What state would I eventually find him in? Every corner I turned, every black tree I stumbled against, I prayed that I'd find him hiding, huddled, hiding, safe, just like the day I'd found him. And I will be the death of him. He'd been so small that day, so damaged. How could someone hate something so hurt? I'd wiped his tears, sat with him for hours in silence. He'd had no reason to trust this stranger, but he had. No one had ever trusted me before. To this day, that trust has humbled and changed me. A surge of agony struck my belly, and I doubled over in pain. I will be the death of him. Loken, where are you? He'd been so gifted in the fore. His courage in the face of utter oblivion remained my greatest lesson. I did everything I could for him. But I will be the death of him. I snarled, trying to push myself to my feet. Zhana's words rang true in my head. He was safer without me, even here, even now in the black zone. If I found him, he'd be fated to die. Perhaps he'd be safer if... I'm sorry, Loken. I couldn't do it. I couldn't abandon him, no matter my fears. I didn't have the strength. Getting Loken out of this place right now was all that mattered. I forced myself back up. I had to ignore my doubts. I refused to let my madness take me. I wouldn't fall into the same insanity as Zhana. Loken needed me. I had to believe that. Through the darkness, a black structure loomed into view. It was the barn, the same Zhana had shown me from the border, well before this madness had begun. Against the jagged outlines of the clawed trees, it stuck out as an unnatural, perfect shape. Straight angles and smooth contours. This should never have been built here. And the door was ajar. I limped closer. There was a dull, muddy crimson leaking from the open door. Loken? My breath frosted in front of me. All pain ebbed as my body became numb. The light grew bright. It was a thick, viscid red. All was silent. The rustling trees, the whispering wind, the wet padding of my feet, they were holding their breath in awe, in worship. I limped forward. The barn got closer. The cold shredded me. I limped forward. The barn got closer. Moving was difficult. It felt like swimming. I limped forward. The barn got closer. The pressure of the ocean was crushing me from above. I limped forward. The barn got closer. A buzzing rang in my ears. It was the air, reality, shuddering in gleeful anticipation. I limped forward. The barn got closer. The red glow was inside me now. I reached the door and went in. Loken's silhouette had its back to me. The small husky was a perfectly still statue staring inside. He was fixated. It towered above him, blurred and twisted, its many limbs coiled and tangled in rapturous torture. Corroded steel dripping with blood, filth and pus squalled and purred. It twisted and labored under its own obnoxious weight. A chattering insectoid voice babbled in inane mechanical nonsense. The mind perforated. The barn withered. Emaciated wood and saturated iron coiled and bloated. The negative one rose to its full height and admired the child standing before it, with ravenous, delightful curiosity. I ran up behind Loken and grabbed him, covering his eyes. I carried him out of the barn. Alright, I'm gonna pause it right there. Yeah. So she was keeping a damn demon in there. Great. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!